There are African traditions so controversial, so misunderstood by the outside world, that they're disappearing before our eyes. Some involve extreme body modification that begins in childhood. Others include public ceremonies where young men endure brutal physical tests to prove their worth. And a few involve customs that many argue harm the very people they were meant to protect. But here's what makes this story complex. These aren't simply barbaric practices waiting to be eliminated by progress. They're deeply meaningful traditions that carry centuries of cultural wisdom, identity, and community values. And as they fade away under pressure from globalization, Christianity, Islam, and modern laws, entire communities are grappling with what it means to be themselves in a rapidly changing world. Where are you watching from today? And how are you doing? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your perspective on this complex topic. When outsiders encounter the Mursi and Surma women of Ethiopia's Omo Valley, wearing large clay or wooden plates in their stretched lower lips, the reaction is usually shock. These lip plates, which can measure up to 20 centimeters in diameter, are perhaps one of the most visually striking body modifications practiced anywhere in the world. But what appears extreme to outsiders carries profound meaning for the women who wear them. The process begins around puberty, when a girl's mother or kinswoman pierces her lower lip and inserts a small wooden plug. Over approximately 1 year, increasingly larger plates are inserted, gradually stretching the lip. The plates, typically made of clay or wood, are often decorated with patterns and paint from local resources. Here's where the story gets interesting. There's a common misconception that lip plates were adopted to deter slave traders by making women appear less attractive. However, the Surma and Mursi people themselves view this practice as beautiful, not as disfigurement. The size of a woman's lip plate traditionally correlated with the bride price her family could command. Larger plates meant more cattle for the family. But the practice carries real costs. The stretching process can lead to infections, and lips can break if stretched too quickly, sometimes leaving both sections dangling toward the ground. And here's the critical change happening right now. Most teenagers are now choosing not to continue the lip plate tradition, meaning it may disappear within a generation. What topic about African culture baffles you the most? Drop it in the comments below, and I'll research it and create a video addressing exactly what you want to know. Now let's travel west to the Fulani communities scattered across Nigeria, Niger, Mali, and other West African countries, where young men face a completely different but equally controversial test. The Sharo festival, also called the flogging ceremony, is where potential grooms prove their courage through public beatings. Sharo comes from the Fulani word meaning to flog. During this ceremony, held twice yearly during the dry season harvest and Eid el-Kabir celebrations, bare-chested young men compete by enduring brutal flogging with long sticks. The rules are strict. Sticks must measure 4 to 6 feet in length with a 1-inch diameter, and no flogging on the head is permitted. A referee oversees the proceedings to prevent excessive harm. Here's what makes this ceremony so powerful within Fulani culture. The young man being flogged is not allowed to show any expression of pain or discomfort. He must maintain a firm, stoic posture while being struck. After the flogging, those who endure without crying are declared to have transitioned to manhood and are given permission to marry. The rationale goes deeper than simple machismo. The Fulani people, because of their nomadic nature and cattle-herding lifestyle, need courage to defend their herds from thieves and wild animals. The show of courage determines readiness to defend cattle, work hard, and provide for a family. But the controversy is real. The Nigerian government has officially banned Sharo practices, describing them as barbaric and harmful. Yet the ceremonies continue in remote villages far from government authority. There are occasional casualties during Sharo, ranging from injuries to blindness or even death. If you're finding value in this exploration, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe. Your subscription means the world to me, as my channel is still young and trying to grow. Every subscriber helps preserve these important cultural stories. Perhaps no practice generates more heated debate than wife inheritance, also known as Levirate marriage. This ancient custom, practiced across many African societies including the Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa Fulani, Luo, and others, involves a widow being required to marry a male relative of her deceased husband, typically his brother. The practice was instituted as a means for widows to have financial support and to keep the late husband's wealth within the family bloodline. In societies where women were responsible for household duties and men were providers, losing a husband meant losing economic security. But the reality is far more complicated. Many reports suggest widow inheritance becomes a major hurdle to household food security, as the deceased husband's family often shuns real responsibility for caring for the widow and her children. More troubling, widow inheritance plays a pivotal role in spreading diseases like HIV, AIDS, and other sexually transmitted diseases. The disinheritance of widows, called grabbing across Sub-Saharan Africa, involves immediate eviction and property theft, often enabled by legal systems. These traditions are prevalent in Angola, Botswana, DRC, Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and many other countries. The good news? As women become self-reliant in today's world, the idea of inheriting a wife is now looked upon with distaste, rather than as a means of sustainability. Although Levirate marriages have experienced decline across Africa in recent decades due to changes in economic systems and the rise of financially independent women, it's still heavily practiced in remote regions. Closely related to wife inheritance are certain traditional dowry practices that have drawn criticism. Some dowry customs place undue financial pressure on families and contribute to the commodification of women, with women sometimes addressed as property rather than as individuals with rights. So what's driving all these changes? Several powerful forces are reshaping African cultural landscapes. Globalization and modernization bring foreign cultures through media and technology, causing traditional practices to be viewed as old-fashioned. The spread of Christianity and Islam has led many communities to abandon indigenous spiritual beliefs and associated traditions. Urbanization and modern economies have eroded traditional lifestyles. And perhaps most importantly, education and changing legal frameworks have empowered individuals, especially women, to question and reject practices they find harmful. What part of this story strikes you most? Is it the lip plates that teenagers are now refusing? The flogging ceremony that governments ban but communities secretly preserve? Or the wife inheritance custom that's slowly fading as women gain financial independence? Tell me in the comments which tradition made you think most deeply about the tension between cultural preservation and human rights. Here's what we need to understand. These practices didn't emerge from cruelty or ignorance. Each one made sense within its original context. Lip plates as markers of beauty and bride price, Sharo as preparation for the harsh realities of nomadic life, wife inheritance as social security in societies without formal support systems. But contexts change. What provided security in one era can become oppressive in another. What demonstrated beauty or courage in a traditional setting can become a barrier to education and opportunity in a modern one. What protected widows when they had no property rights can become a tool of exploitation when those rights exist but aren't enforced. The question facing these communities isn't whether to preserve or abandon everything. It's how to navigate change while maintaining identity. How to adapt traditions so they serve people rather than harm them. How to honor ancestors while protecting descendants. Many women have successfully escaped harmful practices. With financial independence and education, they're reshaping what cultural preservation means. Young Mursi and Surma women are choosing earplugs and body scarification over lip plates, maintaining cultural connection through less extreme modifications. Some Fulani communities are modifying Sharo or making it optional. And increasingly, widows are choosing their own paths rather than accepting inheritance. This is what cultural evolution looks like. Not the wholesale rejection of tradition, but the thoughtful examination of which practices truly serve community values and which ones no longer fit the world we live in. The Mursi, Surma, Fulani, and countless other African communities are navigating these waters right now, making difficult choices about identity, tradition, and change. Our stories deserve to be told with this complexity and respect. If this exploration challenged your thinking or taught you something new, subscribe and help keep these nuanced conversations alive. Share this with someone who needs to understand that cultural change isn't simple. It's a deeply human struggle playing out across Africa today. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep seeking truth, embracing complexity, and honoring the difficult choices communities make as they chart their futures.